The opinions expressed on Missouri Viewpoints are those of our guests and may not necessarily reflect the views of the program producers or of this station. Closed captioning is provided by the Show Me Institute, where liberty comes first. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. Additional funding is provided by AT&T Missouri, who reminds you to never text and drive. It can wait. Learn more at att.com.
The issues that matter, the newsmakers who impact our lives. This is Missouri Viewpoints with Mike Ferguson.
Can violence, or what some people think of as only violence, help turn lives around? Well, the answer is yes, and we're going to make sense of that claim today. Hi, I'm Mike Ferguson. Thank you for being a part of Missouri Viewpoints. We are coming to you from the Lindenwood University campus in St. Charles, and we're doing something different this week. We're taking a break from the political issues, but we are definitely talking about the issues that impact far too many Missouri families. Violence, crime, and the impact of those. That impact is too many wasted lives. My guest this week was on a path to self-destruction, and part of that path was prison. His story also includes a changed life, becoming a world champion, becoming a successful business owner here in Missouri, and now becoming an author. And combat arts, martial arts, and MMA all had a role in that success. Jermaine Andre is the author of Muay Tiger. Jermaine, welcome to Missouri Viewpoints.
Thank you. How you doing, Mike?
You have had quite a ride here so far.
Yes.
Now, let me kind of start with just kind of the overview. We've heard a lot of so-called rags to riches stories, but yours is unique because you were in just about the most serious situation you could possibly be, and that's prison. I mean,
Yes.
And how old were you when that happened, and how did you get there?
I was actually arrested at 18, and I went to prison at 19 years old.
And you did 6 years.
I did 6 years in.
But it was actually a situation where authorities in Wyoming came here to the state of Missouri to come get you.
Yes, it was for aggravated armed robbery, 2 counts, so they traveled here. They surrounded my parents' house, is where they caught me at, and surrounded it with guns, and that's where we surrendered.
So how did things start on that path? I mean, you're 18 years old, so young. What was happening that had you go in the wrong direction like that?
Poor planning is all it is. I wasn't from a bad neighborhood or anything like that. I kind of grew up in, a good area. I was graduated from Pattonville High School. I was a high school graduate, and immediately I moved with my girlfriend to Wyoming. And what happened was her mom was dying of cancer, and she was actually a junior in high school. And so we moved up there. She wanted to be next to her mom, and I went with her. So this was with good intentions. Well, things went really bad while we were there. Her mom passed away. We lived together. We had no plans. We were about to become homeless. We were about to lose our vehicle. We started off basically stealing, food just to eat. But we got into a desperate situation. Had some bad friends that I had met there in Wyoming who, they weren't even really bad guys, but just saw the opportunity in the situation that we were in and our misfortunes. They saw opportunity to pull an armed robbery, something simple that they thought would be easy, a 7-Eleven where they leave the safe open. You can see the money there. So go in and point the gun at the people with a ski mask on. That's all you got to do. They'll give you the money, you run and leave. No intentions of doing anything super harmless. Well, they did this because they had tried to talk me into it before. I said, no, I wasn't that type of person. No way, you're out of your mind. Well, they accomplished it. And when they accomplished it, the peer pressure hit us, and then we end up following the same path.
One of the things that I think a lot of parents right now are watching and they're listening to our conversation right now, and they're saying, well, you made a mistake, but I'm sure glad my kid would never do something like that.
That's what everybody thinks. But, peer pressure, situations we can be involved in, anybody can switch and go either way at any time. I had a good family. My mother cared for me. Like I said, I graduated from Pattonville High School, and I wasn't a kid running around committing crimes. I wasn't a bad person. But that desperate situation, made me do the wrong thing for the right reason.
So what was the lowest point when you were on that part of your life that you've left behind now? I mean, give us an idea of the lowest point you were in.
The lowest point of this situation?
Yeah, the whole situation. I mean,
solitary confinement for a year.
Solitary confinement.
Yes. Yeah, solitary confinement for a year was really hard.
And what was it that put you to the breaking point where you said, okay, I am going to make a change? Because, I mean, a lot of people get into bad situations as soon as they get out of them. they tend to go back to what they know.
Well, there wasn't just one, and I'll tell you the main one was when I was sentenced to prison. I went to prison. I was ready. I was always a tough guy. I grew up street fighting, mainly protecting my friends, and that was my talent. I was a guy who could be there. I was martial art, I have martial art background, so it was nothing for me to just take out 3 guys at the same time or whatever I need to do. But when I entered the prison, I was ready to rock and roll. I knew, hey, I'm gonna have to take somebody out first. Soon as I get there, let everybody know what time it is. So I was pumped, and the warden was the first, piece of that puzzle. He brought me into his office uncuffed, talked to me like I was a human being. He said, hey, you were sitting here as punishment, not to be punished. You're no different than me. I've done things that would have landed me in here, and everybody who's criticizing and pointing the finger at you have to. And either the parents bought their way out or they just got away with it. So I'm here to help you become a better person. So when you come out of here, you're a good person. And when I hit the yard, he had this rehabilitation system where the guards, the warden, they ate lunch with us. They ate breakfast with us. They hung out in our cells. You go in there, you come in my cell, and the warden be sitting there watching a movie with me. So they gave us this treatment that made us feel like human beings. So I was immediately disarmed of my tough guy act, as soon as I met the warden. And then when I hit the yard and I saw how the other inmates were, and everybody was just there trying to better themselves, they're trying to get out and stay out, that kind of changed my whole frame of mind.
We're visiting with Jermaine Andre, who is the author of Muay Tiger and Muay Tiger, The Beast, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit as well, because it tells these stories. And a lot of times, everybody, like the warden told you, we've all got things in our past that we don't want public. We don't want out
right.
there. I'm 44 years old. Thank goodness there were no camera phones and Facebook when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? So what made you say, okay, these are painful, these are embarrassing, but I'm going to put them on pen and paper. I'm going to put them in a book so that everybody else can read about this.
Well, when I saw what was happening, we had Ferguson, Baltimore, we can go down the line and you look, and I seen the separation that was happening. I seen, St. Louis and America going 20, 30 years back, police work going 20, 30 years back. For instance, like when I was locked up, the guards, they were no different to me than anybody else. They treated me like a human being. I treated them like a human being. So the lessons I learned in there, in Wyoming, I think there was 300 of us on the yard and 10 black guys, and we didn't get treated any differently. There was no racism or anything like that. So I know that people are just people. And I'm looking at what's happening. I'm looking at all these cliques creating all this stupidity. And I'm saying, through all the, I went through those hard times, the life lessons I learned of valuing people and valuing each other, and that we can change somebody just by the way we treat them, which is, you read my Muay Tiger book. When I was released, I almost went down a real bad path, but it was because of my memory of the way that the good people, the warden and the directors and the counselors and the guards treated me, that I could not betray them. And I had every good reason to go down the bad path, from the position I was in upon release. I was released with nothing, $40 in my pocket for maximum security, put out on the streets homeless, but that thought right there of how they treated me. So that's what I'm trying to get everybody to see, is that, we need to start caring more for each other and start trying to be more understanding towards each other than just to be so judgmental and to think that everybody's just this, here's this group of people that's like this, and I'm over here and I'm a good person because people don't know about my past or my stuff, my secrets are hid. So that kind of gave me the idea that it was time to release this story.
You also reference on social media, we're connected on Facebook and everything. You've referenced faith as well. How did that play into your change of heart and change of direction?
Well, I've always had a strong belief in God. And I personally feel, especially read through that book, the things that I've been through, no human being could have survived, without some kind of, something strong overlooking. And I eventually ended up figuring out that I must be on some kind of mission, because there's no way in the world I keep making it through all this stuff and coming out on top like I am, And so I started looking back at the lessons that I was learning, at the things that I was proving as I was going through. But I've definitely always had that strong belief, so that kind of gave me a lot of confidence. When I was in situations that seemed totally hopeless, that's where I put my head, was that, hey, look, I would say to God, even, and one of the things that I always say is my prayers in the morning starts off with, I ask God to protect me from myself, because we all need to know that our number one enemy is ourselves. And that's what this whole idea of what I'm trying to do, releasing a book, the Muay Tiger movement is about. I'm going to lecture in Wyoming. I just lectured at AMSU, is to teach us about this road to self-discovery that we're all on. We're all on this road to self-discovery to figure out who we are. And we've got so many things that are trying to send us in so many different directions, and it's really hard to find out who we are in society today. But once we discover who we truly are, we can commit to who we are, and we can be honest with who we are, then everything else is just easy.
We are visiting with Jermaine Andre here. Now, we just got about a minute and a half before we're going to take a break real quick. Let's go ahead. Where can people find the books right now? JermaineAndre.com, and they are on Amazon also. Okay, and when people are hearing your story, I mean, it's one thing to reach over and pat you on the back, high five you, but whether it's parents who have kids that we're all worried about, whether it's young people struggling with those identity, what would you say is one of the top lessons you want them to learn from your story? And what we can't get to before the break, we can get to right after the break. What would jump out at you and say, this is what you can learn from what's happened to me?
I'd say the most important thing, what I actually created while I was going through what I went through is called The Cure. And it's actually, compassion, understanding, respect, and education. And I say if we all would treat each other that way, that's what I use. When I teach martial arts, everybody I meet, I try to have compassion towards them first, that, who knows what this person's been through. And if I was going through what they were going through, I might be worse off than them, because we're all so judgmental as soon as we meet people. We either think we're better than them or something's wrong with them. But if you start off with compassion, then that opens you up to try to understand them. And when you understand what somebody's been through, just like if I tell you some stories, in this book, and hey, when I was in this place, we had to do this, you understand, and you say, man, I would have did the same thing. Now we can communicate better. And
we're going to follow up on the martial arts aspect of this as well in just a minute or two. We're not done learning about and learning from Jermaine. Still ahead, how can the lessons that he learned the hard way help you and even your children? Find out what's in it for you in about 3 minutes. Right now, here's a perspective on another issue impacting our state. This commentary is provided by the Show Me Institute.
High school can be a lot of fun, Friday night football and Saturday night dances. But students who want to go to college need to take some tough classes too. It's a sad fact that too many rural, small school districts in Missouri don't offer students high-level coursework like calculus and physics. That leaves them poorly prepared for college. So what can these districts do? Course Access allows students to choose advanced classes online at a local community college or nearby school. The cost to the state? Minimal. The benefit to bright and eager young people? Immense. They'll be better prepared for college and success. It's another example of school choice. Why should students be trapped in a district that can't meet their needs? Check out Mike McShane's paper on Course Access at showmeinstitute.org.
When I'm working, things can get so hectic, so sometimes I need to find an easy way to express what's most important to me. Like with my crew, I use shorthand to tell them what I need. And when I need to talk directly to my fans. But the most meaningful shorthand of all is the one I use when I'm about to drive. #X. It's an easy way to tell everyone that I'm about to drive, and I do it every time before I get behind the wheel. Use #X to pause the conversation before you drive, because no text is worth a life.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to theshelterpetproject.org and meet if you are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to theshelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat?
1 in 5 children struggles with hunger in America. Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
It's easy to think that the last person you want your children learning from is a former prison inmate who punched people in the face for a living. That might be the wrong outlook if you do think that. Hi, I'm Mike Ferguson. Thank you for staying with us on Missouri Viewpoints. We'll hear more from former MMA champion Jermaine Andre in about 60 seconds. Right now, here's a perspective on another issue that affects us all. This commentary is provided by the Missouri Budget Project.
A prosperous Missouri requires a strong middle class with the ability for families that work hard to achieve a better future. A state earned income tax credit, or EITC, is one of the best ways that Missouri can help all of us, help all working families have the opportunity to build better lives and economic security. More than 500,000 working families in Missouri could benefit from an EITC, which would give low-wage workers modest credit to offset state taxes. In addition to helping families pay for basics like childcare or car repairs, a state EITC would boost local economies because it puts more money in the pockets of those most likely to spend it at our local businesses, buying groceries and other basics. An earned income tax credit rewards work, provides a pathway to the middle class, and it's an investment in our future. Find out more on our website, mobudget.org.
Are there universal lessons from those who have been through trials that you may never experience? I think we can all agree the answer is yes. Jermaine, thank you for staying with us so far. I want to follow up with what you just said. You talked about maybe that top lesson that people can learn from, your life so far. And you're a young guy. You got plenty of life still to go. But when people think of martial arts, they think of combat sports. A lot of times they just think of people hurting each other.
Right.
And they may say, wait a minute, this is a dichotomy here. I mean, we want to teach people to stay out of violent situations, bad situations. Why on earth will we teach people to throw, pin, punch, and kick each other?
Well, you still have to, everybody has to know how to defend themselves. And knowing how to defend yourself also gives you confidence that can help you to not get into fights. So I think that's something that gets missed. And one of the main reasons is because what's the main thing that sells about the martial arts? Sport fighting. Entertainment. And what do you want to see in entertainment? It's no different than a football commercial. You want to see kill, murder, smash, die. So that's what they show. So then you think this is the representation of MMA. But MMA is just a mixture of the martial arts. That's the entertainment side, the sport fighting side. People need to know how to defend themselves. And the martial arts, of course, one of the strongest points of the martial arts is fighting, but it's not the strongest. When you get past the point of where you can actually learn how to fight, you know how to fight, you learn how to control yourself, you learn how to understand other people, you learn how to master yourself, then that gets you in a position where you have so much control of yourself that you don't have to get into fights.
I remember talking with somebody once, and it was a mother, and she was just appalled that her son was so interested in mixed martial arts, and I asked her if she'd be okay with him joining the wrestling team, and she said that was fine. I said, well, what if he went to a judo class with me? And she thought that'd be great. I said, well, what if he went to karate class? Well, she thought that'd be great, but I said, you're just rolling it all into one. Yeah. And it you saw the light bulb go on a little bit there. So, I mean, you've mentioned self-defense, and you've mentioned the self-confidence and the self-discipline. discipline and the self-control. You've also had things to say, on social media otherwise, when it comes to dealing with bullying through martial arts. Now, you're not just talking about learning how to throw a roundhouse kick when somebody is mean to you. What does a martial arts lifestyle and training and traditions have to do with helping somebody deal with bullying?
I'll tell you, I can give you that from actually a testimonial of one of the students at my school. And we had a kid come in, he's about, I think he's maybe 8, 9, chubby cheek kid, the one that a bully would pick out. We all know there are certain kids that have a look where I'm going to pick on him today so I can look cool to everybody. Well, that's the kind of kid a bully would pick. So his parents brought him to us. We trained him. One of the nicest kids in the world, really nice, cool kid. Trained him, he got really good, he even fought Naga. That's how good he got. Like I said, stayed the nicest kid in the world, which we're very big, at our school on the behavior, the discipline, the respect. We push that really hard. We don't just teach him how to fight. But he got into a situation with some bullies who were picking on a handicapped girl. And, his parents came and told us a story, and he shut them down. And the way he shut them down was just by talking to them. It wasn't even hey, you guys get off her. Hey, man, hey, why are you picking on her? She's handicapped. He made him feel bad, but he had enough confidence in himself to, one, approach the bullies, and two, not to be, where he felt like he had to, puff out his chest and get into a fight with them. He didn't even feel threatened. He had enough confidence to approach them and talk to them. The bullies ended up apologizing to the little girl and ended up becoming his friend. So that's the main thing I like to like I say, to push into these kids, especially when it comes to bullying, is confidence, because you can't stop bullying. Bullying is going to exist. It exists as adults. We deal with it every day. So the thing that you have to do is teach the kids how to respond to it and how to react to it. And that's the first thing we want to do, is that confidence, that there's bullies out there and it's not you, it's them.
If somebody decides that this is right for them, and I started martial arts much later in life, as you know, that's how we met, was through some martial arts circles and common friends. But a lot of parents, they'll meet you, and you're in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. You were a world champion, 2 or 3 times?
2 times.
2 times. You fought in the UFC, which is the major leagues of mixed martial arts. Somebody may say, well, that's a little frightening. That's a little intimidating. They really think that all they're going to learn is this is violence and it is for sport. A lot of times they're not going to realize, as with any good martial arts school, that there is so much more to it than the techniques themselves.
Right.
What are the right questions to ask, and how do people get over that initial fear to see if this is right for them?
Well, number one, it's always going to matter on the instructor. And that is truth. You have to, people have to research the instructor. You have to go and meet them, make sure it's an instructor that has a sense of humanity, that's a caring instructor. And he's not somebody that's just out there, just selling martial art techniques. Martial arts is just no different than a gun or a knife or, a brick. Anything can be used in the wrong way. But what you do have to recognize about the martial arts is, someone, like you say, of my caliber, who has used the martial arts and succeeded with it on the battlefield and in combat, has a true understanding of mastering the body and mastering using the body, in rough and tough situations. So it's kind of, people have to understand that you got to go and meet the instructor. You got to go and meet the sensei and use your judgment. Meet the people that he's training. How do they act? How do they respond? What kind of people are they? Is everybody walking around the gym like this, looking for a challenge? Or they shoulder bump? Did they eyeball you like, yeah, come on here so I can show you who's boss? If so, then you probably don't want to be at that place, So that's the best thing they can do, is you have to take time. You can't just dump your kid into a martial arts school anywhere, Yeah,
because there are bad ones out there.
Yes, there's bad everything out there,
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They got to put that time in and go out there and research and find out, meet and shake the hands.
Let me circle back with what you just said to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. We are visiting with Jermaine Andre, who is the author of Muay Tiger and of the second book, Muay Tiger, The Beast, which you can get at your website, which we'll give the website out here in just a little bit. But the setbacks, dealing with setbacks. We all have them. When you're training for any new skill, especially an athletic one, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to get it wrong in training. You're going to go to a tournament and get whooped, like I have. And then you're also, by the same thing, you've had setbacks, major setbacks, that I hope a lot of people don't have to deal with. What do we learn from the setbacks? Are setbacks a bad thing?
You got to understand what is success built out of? Mistakes. And I think if you keep that in your mind, that when you have a setback, you have a mistake, it's a lesson. It's only a lesson if you use it to better yourself later. And it's hard. Confidence, sometimes you just have to not think about it and just keep moving. And a lot of times that's some of the things I had to do. Things that happened to me were so bad, you know, that I just had to say, okay, I just got to stop thinking about it and keep moving forward. You know, my first loss was horrible. You know, it was embarrassing. It was soul shattering. You know, I went home and I went and cried, and, you know, I felt really, really bad. But then I thought to myself and I said, you know what? I've got a lot of opportunity. I still got all of this. I need to get up and I need to keep moving forward, even if it means consistently losing. You know, that doesn't mean I'm just going to sit around and just eat and not train like I'm supposed to. I need to put in and try harder and do the best that I can. But sometimes you just can't be afraid of losing. And that's what happens. People get afraid of losing and you won't even try.
How did your viewpoint, your mindset change after that first loss? Is there a life lesson other than a sports lesson?
Well, first of all, I started training hard. I got supposed to. I realized that I'd get my butt kicked because I had never had my butt kicked before. So that was the first thing that I learned. And then, like I said, you know, the second thing was you just can't give up. You know, regardless of where you're going to land, you have to keep going. You can't stop.
Okay, let me follow up on what you just said as far as coming back from the setbacks. We talked about, you know, the accountant or the kid getting into college. A lot of people are kind of caught off guard lately by Ronda Rousey a few weeks ago admitting that after her loss to Holly Holm that she briefly had suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. I wasn't as surprised as a lot of people because I've read her autobiography and she's overcome many things in her life, you know, as well, and not the same type of things that you have. But what's the mindset? And a lot of people don't understand how you can think that way after one failure, but that's a huge failure, just like it would be for somebody not getting into the college they want or losing a job that they thought was their dream job. Where do you go from there?
Well, just for clarification, you know, regarding Ronda Rousey's thoughts, I totally understand it. When I had my first big loss, you know, it almost went to suicide. But when that's what you do and you feel that that's what your value is to everybody and to yourself, and you lose, you feel like you let everybody down, you know, not just yourself, but everybody who believes in you. And that's one of the worst feelings in the world. And actually, you know, what saved me was, you know, I prayed. And when I did, I remembered that I wasn't the supreme being and that, you know, there's a path laid for me that I don't control. Of course, I control what I do while I'm on it, and I just have to have the confidence, you know, that what's going to happen to me is going to happen in my life. So sometimes that's where humility comes in, which is something that, you know, we teach in the martial arts. That's big for you to learn, because that's one of the hardest things in life is when you think you're going to win and you think you're supposed to win or supposed to succeed, and you don't. You have to be able to accept that and be able to take it.
So, all these lessons, everything we've talked about, really appreciate the time you've got, the discussion. Been looking forward to this one. Where do people go to get the books? You can find them on Amazon, and you can go to my website, www.jermaineandre.com, and you can find the books there. Very interesting stuff. You know, it's some serious stuff in there. Bodyguarding stories, you know, of course, prison stories, solitary confinement. You know, I was with the Aryan Nation, Black Guerrilla family, everybody. So it's pretty tough. Jermaine, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you coming by. Right. There's something for everybody to learn here on this. All right, thank you. Well, don't forget to like our page on Facebook and make your voice heard there. You'll also get previews of upcoming shows and have the chance to help us pick topics for future episodes. On behalf of Lindenwood University Television, thank you for being a part of Missouri Viewpoints. I'm Mike Ferguson, and we'll talk to you again next week.